3 chilling true countryside horrors revealed secrets of sinister, haunted places. In the heart of Maplewood, shadows followed the unsuspecting. This quaint town, with its white picket fences and flower-filled gardens, held whispers of dread. Behind every window, secrets festered, cloaked in friendly smiles. To Sarah, a lone mother clinging to sanity, the cheerful facades felt suffocating. 5 years had passed since her husband vanished, but the hollowness gnawed at her soul, leaving her suffocated by doubt and despair. Each bend in the road, every rustle in the trees, spoke of unease. On a stormy evening, thunder rolled like a freight train. Sarah stood in her dim kitchen, balancing bills like a tightrope walker. A chill crooked through her spine when she noticed it. A series of jagged symbols scratched into the wood of her porch. Her heart raced, skin prickling. A prank? Or something way worse? The symbols seemed to pulse with dark energy. She shook it off, but dread coiled tightly in her gut. The next day, amidst the fluorescent lights of the local grocery store, 2 elderly women eyed her with fear, their whispers like tainted smoke. As one leaned closer, her breath caught in her throat. "The curse of Maplewood's woods," she said, eyes wide. "There are things out there no one should see." Her words dripped with a mix of horror and twisted glee, as if the women relished the terrors that lay beyond their neatly trimmed lawns. Unnerved, Sarah sought shelter in the company of Mr. Jennings, her neighbor, who had an obsession with gardening. His 2 big smiles sent alarms ringing in her head. "Stay clear of the woods, Sarah. Bad things happen there," he warned, but it only sent shivers down her spine. The bone-chilling feeling that he was hiding something from her clawed at her. Then came those ominous nights, the hideous dreams her girls had, ghostly women floating in the dark, rituals that left them screaming. They'd wake eyes wide with terror, muttering about the Dark Lady. Panic filled her heart. What was happening? Each ominous occurrence, a shadow darting by, a sudden wind rattling the windows, thickened the air with a fear she could almost touch. Determined to uncover the truth, Sarah ventured into the heart of the forest one night. Each step crunched on dry leaves as the finest strands of fear pressed against her skin. A presence loomed, a sinister shadow, ever so nearby. The clearing ahead glowed eerily, mirroring those dreadful symbols. Whispers wrapped around her, pulling at her resolve. "Leave," they urged, but dread clenched tighter at her throat. Just as she turned to escape, a dread-filled silence enveloped her. Her heart seized as she imagined her daughters back home, safe and sound. She nearly crumbled, holding back tears. But when she arrived home, the haunting quiet felt like an unseen predator, waiting. They were gone. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening.
YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Every face she encountered bore a sickly grin, whispers taunting her from every corner. Returning to Mr. Jennings felt like returning to a wronged nightmare. Confronting him now felt almost instinctual. As she demanded answers, a clash of thunder echoed outside. Shadows crept into her vision, a cacophony of laughter ringing in her ears. Her daughters? No! A voice beckoned, urging her to join them. What had they found in that cursed place? She could feel the weight of night closing in, darkness stretching out a hand towards her, and she knew, deep down, this was just the beginning. Panic gripped Sarah tightly, her breath quickening as she faced Mr. Jennings. The warmth from the kitchen faded, replaced by an icy grip of uncertainty. She could see his smile warping, twisting into something grotesque. This man, her neighbor, had once seemed harmless, but now he felt like a predator, ready to strike. "Where are my daughters?" The urgency in her voice broke through the storm outside. Thunder crashed again, rattling the windows, drowning out Mr. Jennings' response. "They're safe, for now," he said slowly, each word punctuated with a smile that sent shivers down her spine. "Safe? Where are they?" The desperation clawed at her throat, thick and constricting. "Beyond the woods," he began, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The Dark Lady. She has claimed them. You should have never come here.
Her thoughts spiraled back to her daughters. The Dark Lady had them now. Her heart sank into a pit of despair. "I have to go!" She turned, her instinct screaming for flight. But the door jerked open before she could reach it, revealing the darkness outside. It coiled like a living thing, reaching for her with eagle fingers. "Fleeing is not an option." Mr. Jennings' voice held an otherworldly resonance, deep and commanding. He stood between her and the escape she so desperately sought. "You must face what lurks within the dark." The flickering light overhead dimmed, casting his face in shadow. In that moment, his eyes gleamed, a dark promise of the horrors that lay ahead. She could sense it, the pull of something unseen, lurking beyond the walls of her reality. With one final effort, she charged past him, hearts racing, feet pounding against the ground, stumbling toward the door. But as soon as she crossed the threshold, the world outside appeared transformed. The night was alive, writhing shadows skimming along the ground, beckoning her deeper into the thick woods. "Do not go," he shouted, but it was too late. The very air around her vibrated with energy, pulling her towards the darkness, where her daughters might be lost. A flicker of hope surged through her as she hesitated, glancing back at him. "I will get them," she declared defiantly, voice trembling but fierce. "Not even the bravest can conquer the Dark Lady," he rasped, just as the forest loomed ahead, awakening with life, shadows stretching towards her like skeletal fingers. Every part of her screamed to turn back, but resolve hardened her heart, and she stepped forward, determined to confront the darkness that awaited her. Just as Sarah pushed into the thick underbrush, the laughter morphed into a chorus of wails, echoing her fear. Pain settled into her soul, every instinct urging her to flee, but curiosity kept her feet moving. As the trees closed in, she heard a distant calling, familiar, haunting. And in that moment, she knew she had to confront whatever awaited her in that cursed forest, before it was too late. But what secrets would her search unveil? What terrified truths waited behind the veil of shadows? The forest swallowed her whole, branches clawing at her clothes as if warning her to turn back. Shadows pooled beneath ancient oaks, twisting in ways that felt alive. The air thickened with whispers, her daughter's laughter winding around her like a slender noose. Each step felt like she was being dragged deeper into the heart of something wicked. "Mommy!" The cry shattered the night, sending her heart racing. They were close. The sound came from deeper within the woods, where the trees bent low and the darkness pulsed. "Hold on," she called, desperation fueling her steps. The ground was uneven, roots snaking out to trip her, but she pressed on, resolving to reach them at any cost. With every stride, the laughter morphed into frantic giggles, teasing her ears. It was both dreadful and delightful, sending chills racing down her spine. Was this a trick?
Bait to lure her in? Panic surged again. Was she going mad? Maybe those stories weren't just whispers after all. Maybe there really was a dark lady, a malevolent spirit. Thorns graced her arms, pricking her skin, reminding her of the danger surrounding her. But she couldn't stop. She wasn't just fighting for herself. The faces of her daughters burned in her mind. I could envision them, bright eyes, wild hair, innocence. Sarah. A whisper, barely audible, slithered through the air. It was her name, as sweet as chocolate yet edged with something sinister. She stopped, listening, heart pounding in her chest. It drew her deeper, guiding her through the murky underbrush. "Mommy, help us!" The voice shattered her resolve. It was them. Her heart surged, racing her toward the sound. "Where are you?" she cried out, hope clashing with dread. "Over here!" The joyful tone betrayed the horror around them. She pressed on, limbs heavy with terror, until the laughter melted into howls, a cacophony echoing around her. A clearing emerged, moonlight spilling like silver upon the ground. In the center stood a figure, tall and shrouded in darkness. A cloak of shadows wrapped around her, contorting as if it were part of her being. The Dark Lady. "Welcome, dear seeker," she spoke, voice smooth and velvety. "You've come for your children, haven't you?" "Let them go," Sarah's voice cracked. "What do you want from me?" The Dark Lady smiled, revealing teeth carved from bone, sharp and glistening. "Your bravery is commendable, sweet Sarah, but they are not merely mine to keep. They're part of the forest now." The revelation hit her like a blow. She staggered back, disbelief swirling in her mind. No, they're just kids. They belong at home." "They are part of this place, entwined in its secrets." The Dark Lady gestured around her. "Every child that wanders too far becomes part of its essence. You must choose, Sarah. Sacrifice yourself, or they will fade with the dawn." Chills rushed down her spine. Thoughts swirled wildly. Was she truly ready to give herself up? The darkness pulsed in anticipation, wrapping around her, promising safety, escape, but at what cost? "Mommy!" The voices surged again, shrill and pained, cutting through the air. Their faces flickered to life before her eyes. A choice hung in the balance. Save herself or her daughters? Time stretched, despair clawing at her heart. The laughter grew distant, fading into despair. Just then, a rustling broke the silence. Figures emerged from the trees. They looked familiar, faces from her past, pale and ghastly, eyes devoid of life. They hovered, waiting. What had she wandered into? Was this fate or a trap? The Dark Lady's voice coiled around her, hypnotic. "What will you do, brave mother? Choose now, before the night devours all." Sarah's heart raced, decision looming like a shadow.
Did she dare reach for hope, or would she plunge into the abyss? The forest around her breathed, heavy with secrets. "Will you join us?" The whispered question hung in the air, unnervingly sweet, promising a darkness that beckoned. With the sun soon to rise, the specter of choice loomed over her. What would she sacrifice? The choice was hers to make, but at what unimaginable cost? The night pressed in, stifling. Sarah could feel the weight of the figures behind her, standing in eerie silence, their cold eyes fixed on her. Her pulse thundered, drowning out the whispers of the Dark Lady. "Mommy!" The cries ripped through her heart, sharp as daggers. Each utterance a plea, a promise, laced with the madness of the forest. The laughter, once sweet, twisted again, twisting layers of pain and fear into a wretched lament. "Stop it!" she shouted, the words bursting out in desperation. "They're just children." The Dark Lady watched with amusement, a predator savoring her meal. "Ah, but dear Sarah, children are what the forest thrives on," she said, her voice no longer sweet, but a chilling melody that echoed off the trees. "Every time you let go of their innocence, they give themselves willingly to the shadows." The truth struck her harder than any boot heel. Each unwatched moment, every slight distraction, drew them closer to this dark embrace. The thought of their laughter mixing with sorrow sent ice through her veins. "Please," she whispered, "give them back." A wave of murmurs washed over her, the faces from her past circling closer. Some wore expressions of sorrow, others anger. They beckoned her, each a thread pulling taut in the tapestry of her memory. Moments she thought lost, but now clawed back into existence.
fury and grief dancing in the recesses of her mind. Behind the Dark Lady, shadows twisted grotesquely, a cacophony of sorrowful pleas rising in volume. They were her neighbors, her friends, all claimed by the woods, forever tethered to the Dark Lady's ominous well. "Is this how it ends?" Sarah cried out. "Trapped in a nightmare, bound to the darkness?" "Only if you choose to resist," the Dark Lady hissed, her phantom hands extended towards the clearing. "Join us, and the pain will fade. Embrace your truth." The laughter twisted again, morphing into howls that echoed of despair. "Mommy, don't leave us." The cries tugged at Sarah's heartstrings, dragging her deeper into turmoil. She closed her eyes, trying to shut out the chaos, inhaling the thick scent of damp earth and rotting leaves, mingled with fear. How could she make this choice? How could any mother? "Sarah!" The Dark Lady's voice slipped into her ears, slinking like a serpent. "What will it be? Or have you already made your choice? Your daughters need you to become forever entwined." A deep breath steadied her shaky hands. If she could not face the fear, the darkness would surely claim her. She stepped forward, raising her chin. "I won't let you take them."
It was a declaration filled with defiance, yet trembled on a knife's edge of uncertainty. Behind her, the forest shifted. Gnarled roots creaked with wrath. The shadows deepened, swallowing the moonlight. The faces around her flickered, momentarily contorted with rage at her refusal, then melted into anguished pleas. "Mommy!" The cries grew frantic, tension winding tighter, twisting in agony. It was now or never. "Let them go!" she shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks. It was a wild yearning, a fierce plea that shook the very ground. "I will take their place. Just let them be free." In an instant, the atmosphere changed. The Dark Lady's eyes glinted with dark satisfaction, her sharp grin widening, revealing even sharper intentions. "Ah, but Sarah, your offer is so enticing." A chilling wind swept through the clearing, and frosty hands grasped at her ankles, pulling her down. Her heart hammered, a frantic drum in the weight of the darkness that encroached. Was this the pact she had long feared? What waited for her beneath the pressure of that choice? "Be cautious, sweet mother," the Dark Lady whispered. "Not all sacrifices are noble." With the echoes of her daughter's cries vibrating in her chest, Sarah felt the ground tremble beneath her. She stood on the precipice of more than just a decision. She felt the darkness wrapping tighter, ready to clamp down on any choice she made. What lay beyond that shroud? Could she survive the truth that awaited her? As the whispered laughter swelled ominously, Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Shadows danced, hungry and eager. And then the darkness surged forward like a tide. What awaited her on the other side of the veil? Would she embrace the forest's desperate call, or would she fight against the inevitable? The cold grip of the shadows tightened around Sarah, pulling her lower, dragging her closer to the ground, to the unfathomable depths concealed beneath the forest. The Dark Lady's laughter echoed around her like a sinister choir, a melody of chaos that twisted into her bones. "Do you feel it?" the Dark Lady cooed, her words tinged with venomous delight. "The forest's hunger, your despair feeds it." Sarah resisted. She summoned all her strength, her breath heavy as the chill air stung her lungs. "I won't give in," she gasped, fighting against the weight. Each inch she climbed felt like wading through tar, but the cries of her daughters pierced through the veil of darkness, urging her to ascend, to break free. "Mommy, help us!" The voices flared, frantic and full of hope, merging with the rustle of leaves, which whispered secrets of the damned. The Dark Lady shifted, her gaze on Sarah sharp as daggers. "Their cries only amplify the desperation. If you take their place, they can be free, together, forever, entwined in the forest." Images flashed through Sarah's mind, her children's laughter, their innocent joy. She couldn't bear the thought of it being torn away. "No, I refuse."
Each word fought through shaky breaths, a battle that waged within her. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the shadows. A figure emerged, standing between Sarah and the Dark Lady, an ethereal form, luminous yet sorrowful. "Sarah!" it called, the voice choked yet familiar. Her heart stopped. "Mom?" The figure was her mother, a glimpse of the past now veiled in ethereal light, but with an unmistakable warmth radiating from her presence. "You have the power to choose. Don't let fear bind you to this place." The Dark Lady screeched, a sound that vibrated through the very air, shaking leaves loose from branches. "She means to deceive you." Sarah's heart raced. "You're lying." "Embrace the truth," her mother urged, stepping closer, a beacon of love amidst the encroaching darkness. "They are not lost. They are waiting. You must fight for them." Around Sarah, trees creaked and twisted as if they were alive, the Dark Lady's influence seeping into every crevice of the forest floor. Gnarled roots sprang up like claws, trying to snatch at Sarah's ankles, but she pushed forward, fueled by a fierce need to protect her daughters. "Fight!" her mother cried. "You are stronger than they know." Sarah did not hesitate. She let the love for her children surge through her. "You will not take them!" The shadows recoiled, the Dark Lady's face twisted in fury as Sarah's defiance pulsed like light in the darkness. "What is power without fear?" the Dark Lady hissed. "You'll regret this choice. Everyone you love will suffer." "Not if I can help it," Sarah shouted, launching forward, breaking the pull of the shadows. The clarity surged in her mind. The forest shifted, the Dark Lady's grip faltering, an agonizing shriek echoing out as she began to dissipate, absorbed back into the depths of despair she had summoned. But as the Dark Lady faded, a new wave of horrifying terror rushed in, a vast undulation of whispers. The forest seemed to awaken, shadows coalescing around the trees, breathing, writhing, shifting away from the light. "Mommy!" The cries of her daughter sharpened, closer now, desperate and fearful, echoing through the very ground beneath her feet. "Mom!" And suddenly there was silence, a deafening calm, and with it an uneasy realization washed over her. The forest was waiting, ready to unleash something truly sinister. As shadows gathered like a storm, filling the clearing with a torturous anticipation, Sarah screamed, "No!" But the darkness rolled in, an oppressive wave. She could feel something ancient and terrible rising to meet her resistance. Was this just the beginning? Did her defiance ignite a greater darkness? With a rush, she plunged deeper into the heart of the forest, desperate to find her daughters, haunted by the feeling that they were not alone. What other horrors awaited her in this cursed place? Branches clawed at Sarah's skin as she plunged into the depths of the forest.
The dimness wrapped around her like a shroud, making each step feel heavy, as if the very earth conspired to hold her back. The whispers grew louder, curling around her mind, speaking a language just out of reach. Her heart pounded, a frantic drumbeat warning her that terror lurked closer than ever. "Mommy!" The cries pierced her, agony filled with panic, echoing through the cold air, the urgency clawing at her throat. Every instinct screamed to turn back, to flee from the all-consuming darkness. But she couldn't. Her daughters were out there, ensnared in this sinister web. She had to find them. A flicker of light broke through the dense trees ahead. Was hope pulling her in its direction, or was it a trap set by forces far beyond her understanding? With determination hardening her resolve, Sarah stumbled through the underbrush toward it. As she approached, the light flickered, and shadows slithered, forming shapes that almost resembled figures entwined in a dance. The light pulsed rhythmically, matching the beat of her heart, luring her like a moth to a flame. "Sarah!" A voice, her mother's, echoing softly. It filled her with warmth and dread all at once. Shadows twisted and coiled like serpents around her ankles, whispering of lost souls caught in the forest's grasp. She pushed through, shaking off the shackles of the shadows. "I'm coming!" she shouted defiantly, feeling embers of courage turn into flames of resolve. Suddenly, the light surged, illuminating a clearing ahead. But as she stepped into the open space, her breath caught. The sight before her was a horrific collage of despair.
The ground was littered with branches covered in twisted, ghastly faces, their features warped in eternal screams and silent pleas. They were trapped in the very essence of the forest, feeding its vile energy with their suffering. "Mommy, help!" The anguished cries of her daughters erupted from the depths of the curse. They were close. She could almost taste the salt of their tears on the edge of her tongue. Her legs propelled her forward, desperation leading her into the heart of the nightmare. The nearer she got, the sludge of the shadows thickened, pulling at her, drawing her into its depths again. "Stand your ground!" Her mother's voice resonated within her, guiding her through the chaos. But the dark lady's laughter swirled back into her ears, taunting and infectious. "You think you can save them? The forest's hunger is insatiable. Their cries drown you, consume you." Sarah felt the roots wrap tighter around her feet, the chilling touch of soil under her skin. Fear bubbled inside her, spine tingling with what could happen if she succumbed to the dark lady's words. "You're wrong!" she yelled, determined to shatter the force that sought to imprison her spirit. "I will not become a part of this nightmare!" The ground quaked, as if the forest itself resented her defiance.
Shadows ripped away from her as she combated the overwhelming energy draping over her, propelled by the desperate will to save her children. With a sudden rush of strength, she launched forward toward the shapes in the light. "Hold on! I'm coming!" But as she lunged, the figures disintegrated, dissolving into the air like smoke before her eyes. The clearing changed, darkening as dread seeped back in. "No!" Panic gripped her as she realized something dark, something ancient was awakening. The whispers morphed into a monstrous chorus, howling her daughters' names. Sarah turned to find the path she had just forged back, but all she saw were twisting shadows. Each tree referenced her pain, their twisted limbs beckoning her deeper into the abyss. And then she felt it, a soft tug on her shoulder, almost gentle, almost comforting, yet cold as ice. In that moment, she realized perhaps the forest had no intention of freeing her daughters. Perhaps it wanted her instead. What call had she awakened? What horror was lurking, waiting for her next step into the jaws of the void? With a swift, paralyzing rush, fear gripped Sarah's heart like a vice. Shadows swirled around her, mocking her desperate situation, their movements fluid and sinister. The cold touch on her shoulder felt like fingers closing around her throat, tightening, cutting off her breath. She swiveled to confront whatever malevolent force lingered behind her, but the emptiness only emphasized her solitude. "Let them go!" she shouted to the abyss, her voice echoing back, twisted and distorted. The laughter returned, a chilling sound that danced through the air as though the forest itself was teasing her resolve. Her mind raced, scrambling to make sense of the encroaching darkness. The whispers heightened, twisting her thoughts, each voice melded into a cacophony of despair. "Mommy," they begged, a chorus filled with shimmering hope that brought tears to her eyes. But as soon as they gripped her heart, they bled into despair, morphing into cruel taunts. "You cannot save them," they hissed, rising like a wave haunting her thoughts. She shook her head violently, trying to break free from the thrall of despair. "I will find them!" The words burst from her as she sprinted deeper into the forest, guided only by the malevolent light pulsing in the distance. Each step felt heavier, as if the earth beneath her conspired to pull her back, to chain her in this cursed land. The air thickened around her, cloying and fetid, mingling the scent of decay with something sweet, like rot disguised in the beauty of a flower. The trees loomed like silent sentinels, twisted forms watching her every move. She could almost hear them whispering secrets of those who had come before. Were they lost, like her? Did they feel the endless hunger of the forest, the incessant call for sacrifice? Sarah stumbled into another clearing, its eerie luminescence revealing more horrors. Scattered bones lay cracked and unevenly, partially buried in the soil, remnants of stories long forgotten. Faces peered through the twisted roots, wailing and pleading, caught in a cycle of torment. They were not just remnants, they were souls, each tied to the forest's grip, feeding its malevolence. "Mommy!" The shriek exploded through the air, sharper than before. It filled her every pore with dread as a chilling realization crashed over her. If she continued, she might trade her daughter's light for the shadows in the forest. "Stop!" she yelled into the swirling darkness, her voice trembling yet defiant. "Release my children!" But the cruel laughter only intensified, the atmosphere thickening like a storm about to break. Forcing herself to move forward, she tore through the morass, her heart racing with every footfall. The tears streamed down her face, pooling with the dirt around her.
But then she caught a glimpse, a flicker of movement beyond the spectral trees, something small and familiar. "Emily! Rachel!" she cried out, breaking through the fog of shadows wrapping around her. A jolt of hope shot through her as she pushed onward, but dread lurked close behind. The enraged cries grew louder, surrounding her like a tempest, every shriek feeling like a knife slicing into her resolve. But as she neared the figures in the distance, they dissolved again, like sand slipping through her fingers, leaving her stunned, breathless, fighting against the tide of despair threatening to drown her. In that moment of weakness, she felt the shadows coiling tighter around her legs, icy fingers pulling her to the ground. Her vision blurred as the fragments of her daughter's cries etched themselves deeper into her mind. Through the haze, she sensed the heartbeat of the forest, deep and steady, like an ancient drum feeding off her terror. What was it waiting for? Just as darkness closed in, an unexpected surge of warmth enveloped her fingers, a fleeting contact stronger than the cold bite of the shadows. She looked down and gasped. A small wooden charm dangled from her necklace, pulsating softly, a light against the dark, a gift from her daughter's laughter. If only she could hold on to remember what it meant to love beyond the horror. But would it be enough? The darkness roared, an ocean threatening to swallow her whole as despair tightened its grip once more. Could she stand firm against it? As she gripped the charm between her trembling fingers, the ground trembled violently beneath her. Something was awakening, something that saw her resolve as a challenge. The forest rustled with anticipation, and a new horror slid from the shadows, shifting the balance of her fate. What new terror was rising to claim her?
Tendrils of black mist began to rise from the ground, curling upward, twisting into sinister shapes. The limbs of creatures long forgotten, spirits trapped in a realm of their own despair. "What do you want from me?" Her voice shattered the oppressive silence, desperation bleeding through. She strained against the grip of the shadows, but they merely tightened, dragging her deeper into their twisted embrace. A guttural growl rumbled from the depths of the wood. It was low and horrible, the sound resonating with the very marrow of her bones. Out of the darkness, a shape emerged, towering and grotesque, eyes glowing like dying embers. It was a creature of nightmares, a thing that should not exist. Its skin was mottled, a patchwork quilt of decay shimmering under the unholy light that illuminated the clearing. As it advanced, every instinct in Sarah screamed for her to run, but there was nowhere to go. The trees watched, their branches swaying softly, almost taunting her movement. The ground beneath her bucked as if the forest itself recoiled from the horror approaching. "Release them!" she cried again, the words breaking like glass as they fell from her lips. The creature paused, its feral eyes narrowing, assessing her. A flicker of something, curiosity, passed across its features, a twisted mockery of understanding. "It feeds," a voice whispered from the shadows, plural yet singular, sending chills racing down her spine. It was a chorus of tormented souls fused within the same breath, each echo piercing her resolve. "No, I won't let it!" In an act of defiance fueled by desperation, Sarah lifted the wooden charm high, the soft glow flickering like a candle flame. "You have no power over me!" Her voice trembled, but she pushed forward, stepping against the shadows that now writhed around her. The twisted creature hesitated, a low hiss escaping its lips. A dark guttural laugh reverberated among the trees, shaking the leaves and filling the air with the scent of impending doom.
Foolish child, hope is a luxury, and you shall pay. Suddenly, the ground gave way beneath her feet, an unseen pit yawning wide, as if the forest sought to swallow her whole. Sarah teetered at the edge, panic gripping her as she clutched the charm tighter. In that instant, she saw her daughters' faces again, full of laughter, innocent and bright. "Mommy!" the cry echoed into her ears, stronger than ever, wrapping around her heart. "No!" she screamed, recalling the strength within. She let the memories of their joy flood her mind, igniting her very being. Mustering every ounce of courage, she leaped forward, her feet connecting with the earth just as the shadows lunged, attempting to drag her back. The charm flared to life, a warm golden light bursting forth, pushing the creature back, sending waves of terror crashing into the forest.
But as the light surged, the trees shuddered violently, branches snapping and the air thickening with chaos. A sound, more like a howl than a cry, rose from the depths of the wood, shaking Sarah to her core. "What have you done?" The voice returned, this time filled with rage and pain. "You have awakened it!" The ground trembled violently, and the glow from her charm flickered dangerously. The creature snarled, surging forward, darkness pooling around it as it prepared to strike once more. And then, from the depths of the grotesque shadows, a second figure emerged, a spectral form, shimmering and translucent, stretching forth its hand toward Sarah. "Mommy, help me!" Shock coursed through Sarah, weakening her resolve. Was this yet another trick, or could it be real? In that moment of hesitation, the shadows lunged once more, and the ground beneath her cracked open, inviting her inside its abyss. Would she surrender to the darkness, or grasp at the slender thread of hope woven from her daughter's love? The entity hissed behind her, and Sarah felt the icy fingers of despair closing in again. In a world where nightmares thrived on fear, she had to make a choice. What would it be?
I will take what remains of your spirit. Clutching the charm, Sarah's resolve hardened. The light surged, but doubt clawed at her mind. Each heartbeat thundered like a drum, threatening to drown her in despair. "Believe, Sarah, believe!" she whispered to herself, drawing on the memories of joyful cries and innocent laughter, the essence of her daughters that had always kept her fighting. With a primal scream, she lunged for Lily's outstretched hand. The moment their fingers brushed, a jolt of energy resonated through the air, a wave of warmth countering the encroaching cold. But the shadows pulled at her again, cruel and relentless, as the truth intertwined with her fears. She might have to sacrifice herself to pull Lily back into the light. "Mommy!" Lily's voice trembled as shadows enveloped her, swallowing the glimmer of hope fading from her spectral form. Darkness coiled tighter around Sarah's limbs, dragging her down, the pit yawning wide beneath her. With visceral desperation, Sarah dug deep, shoving the truth of her love into the brilliance of the charm. "You will not keep us apart!" The charm erupted in a blinding torrent of golden light, a beacon in the suffocating dark. Shadows screamed in fury, the trees bending and cracking as the ground trembled. But the creature lunged, a maddened blur of decay and despair. A sound unlike anything emerged from its gaping maw, an unholy mix of rage and sadness, rippling through the ether like a funeral dirge. "Your sacrifice shall feed me," it howled, a chilling promise of what lay beyond. In that split second, with the world shattering around them, anxiety surged. Sarah could no longer tell where the shadows began and where she ended. Only time would reveal if she could save Lily, or herself. It all depended on the next heartbeat. As the light began to flicker, dimming in the face of pure destruction, the shadows closed in around her. Would she drown in darkness, or would she flicker against the pain? Only the forest held the answer.
Sarah felt the pulse of the charm fade in her grip, the light dimming as shadows clawed their way back, seeking to reclaim her and the warmth of her daughter. But in the depths of despair, as the creature loomed, she found her voice again. "Your darkness has no power over love," she shouted, channeling every ounce of maternal energy, the fierce protection for her daughter surging through her like a tempest. The sound echoed through the abyss, and the shadows hesitated, a momentary flicker of doubt in their endless hunger. "I choose to fight," she declared, pushing the charm forward. The glow surged anew, illuminating the clearing, igniting the fear in the creature's eyes. The shadows screamed, twisting angrily as if realigning their allegiance. "Let her go," she commanded, reaching towards Lily, who flickered in and out of coherence. The figure swayed in the air, vibrations shaking the eerie fabric of fear that surrounded them. "Mommy!
Mommy!" the child cried again, a wail filled with hope and desperation, pulling at Sarah's heartstrings. With a renewed sense of purpose, Sarah leaped forward. The ground shook violently beneath her feet. The Dark Lady's laughter was an all-consuming echo, but Sarah pressed on, determined to reach her lost daughter. In a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, she closed the distance, grasping at the flickering hand of Lily. As their fingers touched, a surge of energy radiated through Sarah, flooding her with memories of joy, laughter, moments that couldn't be extinguished by darkness. The moment solidified into a brilliant beam of light, bridging the gap between mother and daughter. Shadows screeched, collapsing under the power of love's fierce illumination. The once overbearing figures of despair began to dissipate, sucked back into the shadows from which they came. "Let her go!" Sarah cried fiercely, voice surging against the sweeping cacophony. Each syllable resonated through the forest, rupturing the hold of despair. With a final push, she pulled Lily closer, feeling the warmth return to the air as light pierced through the night. The darkness recoiled, the creature thrashing in a frenzy, but it was too late. The bond strengthened until a blinding halo burst from the charm, casting aside the veil of darkness. In that radiant moment, Sarah felt a surge of pure love. The essence of her daughter swirled around her, intertwining their spirits like magic threading through the fabric of reality. It wrapped around her, forging a shield and disarming the creature, who howled in agony as the light engulfed it. And then, as abruptly as the chaos had begun, it stopped. The shadows disappeared, unraveling into wisps of nothingness. The oppressive weight lifted, leaving behind the echo of the wind through the trees, a gentle reminder of quietness regained. Panting, Sarah blinked against the radiance. The pain in her chest began to ease as the shimmering remnants of darkness faded into the night. "Mommy!" Lily cried, breaking free from the spectral chains that had bound her. She launched into Sarah's arms, warm and real, sunlight spilling over her features. Emily joined, wrapping her small arms around both of them, an embrace that infused heart and spirit with undeniable power. "You did it!" Emily gasped, eyes bright with tears, filled with the light of their reunion. "I found you! I'll always find you!" Sarah replied, her heart swelling with gratitude and joy. They were together again, the warmth of her daughters grounding her in the safety of their love. But as they backed away from the clearing, Sarah felt the weight of the forest still lurking behind them, almost sentient, as if it had learned from their confrontation. An ancient entity bound in shadow surely awaited. "Let's go home," Sarah whispered determinedly, leading her girls back through the trees, a bond that not even darkness could sever, lighting their way.
With each step, fear faded, replaced by a sense of agency. "Mommy?" Lily's voice tugged at her again, fear creeping back. "Will she come back?" "No," Sarah assured, strength fortified in her heart. "We're safe, together." Together, they pursued the path back to Maplewood, each step solidifying their newfound resolve. The sun dipped on the horizon, spilling fresh light through the blackened trees, illuminating the way forward. As they emerged from the dark woods, the familiar silhouettes of Maplewood rose against the twilight, and Sarah smiled through her tears. The chains of fear had broken, but the bond of love thrived, a radiant promise against the shadows that dared to challenge them. In that moment, they turned back for one last glance at the forest, a heart pulsing with secrets and whispers. But for Sarah and her daughters, Dark Lady or not, they were finally free. Now, dear friends, this is where I need you.
You need to subscribe immediately to the channel not to miss out on more incredible stories that could leave you breathless. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help fellow horror lovers find us. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion. And I want to hear every single one of your reactions. Flood the comment section below with your thoughts, theories, and what you think comes next. We love seeing your engagement. Together, let's build this community. So act now.